Have you ever felt it? That quiet ache behind a perfect smile. The feeling of being the rock for everyone else, while you feel yourself slowly turning to dust. The world applauds you for it. This niceness, this reliability, this strength. They call you kind, a saint, the one they can always count on. But what if I told you that this identity, the one thing you are most praised for, is also the source of your deepest exhaustion? What if the niceness you perform is not kindness at all, but a highly sophisticated survival strategy? A program that has been running unnoticed since childhood. The great thinker Carl Jung had a name for this. He called it the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted. But he also warned us about what this mask forces into the darkness: the anger, the needs, the true self. He called this darkness the shadow. If you click away from this video, you risk spending the next 10 years on this same path. A path of quiet resentment, sudden outbursts over small things, and a profound, bone-deep tiredness you can't explain. Because the path of the people-pleaser, it doesn't lead to peace. It leads to an invisible collapse. But there is another way. A way to be both kind and whole. A way to honor others without abandoning yourself. Today, we are not here to judge this mask. We are here to understand its secret cost and to begin the journey of looking at what lies beneath. There is a profound truth hiding in your exhaustion, and you are finally ready to hear it. But this niceness, this mask, it did not begin as a lie. It began as a shield, a way to navigate the world, a way to earn love, to keep the peace, to ensure your own survival. The world rewards the compliant. It celebrates the giver, the one who is always available, always accommodating, the one who never makes a fuss. This is the persona in its full glory, the polished, socially acceptable you. And for a time, it works. You become the reliable colleague, the selfless mother, the low-maintenance friend. You receive validation, praise, a sense of purpose built on the needs of others. Each thank you is a small reward, a little hit of dopamine that says, you are good, you are needed. But safe isn't always alive, and a role, no matter how celebrated, is not a soul. Let's talk about Chloe. She's 41, a human resources manager. Her entire career is built on mediating, soothing, and supporting others. It's Tuesday afternoon. Her inbox is a raging fire. She has 3 major deadlines by Friday. Her own stress levels are a quiet hum of anxiety beneath the surface. Her phone rings. It's her sister, crying. Her sister's relationship is in crisis again for the 3rd time this month. She needs to talk, for hours. Chloe looks at her screen. She feels the weight of her own responsibilities pressing down on her shoulders, a physical ache. A voice inside her, a small, tired voice she barely recognizes, whispers, "I can't. Not today. I have nothing left to give." But years of programming, the well-worn grooves of the persona, take over. The gears of an old machine begin to turn. The calm, capable, caring voice that emerges from Chloe's mouth is smooth, practiced, automatic. "Of course," she says. "Tell me everything. I'm here for you." And in that moment, a choice is made. Her own needs are once again deemed less important. They are packed away, dismissed, pushed back down into the dark. And something else happens. Something invisible. A tiny, imperceptible layer of resentment forms around her heart. It is as thin as ice on a winter morning. But it is there. Carl Jung wouldn't call this just a bad choice of time management. He would say she is hemorrhaging psychic energy. Every time your yes is a quiet betrayal to your own soul, you are paying an invisible tax. A tax that compounds with silent interest day after day, year after year. This is the profound, unspoken insight. Always being available is not a virtue. It is a prison with invisible bars where you are both the inmate and the warden. You patrol the corridors of your own mind, ensuring the prisoner of your true needs never sees the light of day. Pause here for a moment. Let that sink in. When was the last time your yes felt like a lie? A quiet act of self-abandonment? This isn't your fault. This is a program frozen in time. It is the adaptive child that learned that their needs were an inconvenience, that their anger was bad or unladylike, that their desires were selfish. So you learned to silence them. You became a master of anticipation, sensing the needs of others before they were even spoken, and meeting them. It was a brilliant survival strategy. But you are not that child anymore. And the strategy that once kept you safe is now keeping you small. It is keeping you trapped. The persona, this mask of niceness, demands constant maintenance. It feeds on external validation, but it starves your authentic self. It forces all your disallowed feelings, the anger, the frustration, the ambition, the raw desire to just be left alone, into the cellar of your psyche, into the shadow, and a system built on suppression is inherently unstable. It is a dam holding back a river of truth. And eventually, the things we push down begin to push back.
The things we push down do not simply disappear. They gather energy in the dark. They mutate, they curdle, and the shadow, ignored for too long, will not knock politely on the cellar door. It erupts. Have you ever experienced this paradox? You navigate an impossibly difficult day with superhuman grace. You handle a demanding boss, a passive-aggressive colleague, a family drama, all with a serene, unshakable smile. You absorb the tension. You are the calm in the storm. And then you come home, the one place you should feel safe, and your partner asks a simple question, "What's for dinner?" Or your child leaves their shoes in the middle of the floor, a small, insignificant, everyday event, and something inside you snaps. A torrent of rage flows out of you, so hot and so immense it feels volcanic. It is so disproportionate to the situation that it terrifies everyone in the room, most of all, you. In the ringing silence that follows, the shame floods in. It's a cold, drowning wave. "What is wrong with me?" you whispered to yourself later that night. "Why did I get so angry over nothing? I'm a monster." Pause here. Take a breath, because I want you to hear this and to hear it clearly. It was never about the dinner. It was never about the shoes. That eruption was the cry of your shadow. It was the accumulated rage from every single time you swallowed your own voice. It was the grief for every unmet need you dismissed as unimportant. It was the desperate, primal scream of a part of you that has been systematically starved of oxygen. The shadow is where all your disallowed life force goes to fester. Your healthy aggression, which should be used to set boundaries, becomes blind rage. Your healthy selfishness, which should be used for self-preservation, becomes bitterness. Your ambition, your creativity, your wildness, they don't die. They turn toxic in the dark. This is the central mechanism of the shadow: projection. The things we cannot accept in ourselves, we see and despise in others. It is a psychological safety valve. Think about that person that drives you crazy. Maybe it's a coworker. Let's call him Tom. Tom unapologetically leaves work at 5 p.m. on the dot, no matter what fires are burning. He says no to extra projects without a hint of guilt. He takes his full hour for lunch away from his desk. You and your colleagues might whisper about how he's not a team player, how he's so selfish. And you feel a potent mix of irritation and a strange self-righteous superiority. But a Jungian perspective invites a more radical question. Why does Tom bother you so much? He is not just a person, he is a mirror. He is living, out in the open, the very freedom you have forbidden yourself. Your intense annoyance is not really about him. It is a map, a glowing neon arrow pointing directly to the gold you have buried in your own shadow. The permission to honor your own time, the right to have boundaries, the freedom to not be endlessly available. Pause and ask yourself with radical honesty, who is your Tom? Who in your life triggers that same intense feeling of judgment and irritation? What freedom do they embody that you secretly, desperately long for? When you begin to see this, the world shifts. You realize you are not just reacting to people, you are reacting to disowned parts of your own soul. You are in a civil war. The good girl persona on the surface and the resentful, starving creature she has locked in the basement. This realization is not meant to create more shame. It is the beginning of liberation. It means you are not broken. You are not a monster. You are a whole human being, and a part of you is simply, finally, demanding to be heard. The goal, then, is not to kill the monster. The goal is not to silence the rage. It is to turn on the light, to walk down the stairs, and to sit with this shadowy part of yourself, and for the first time, to listen. To ask it a simple, profound question. What have you been trying to tell me?
The question hangs in the air. What have you been trying to tell me? And the idea of listening to this dark, angry part of yourself can feel terrifying. The term shadow work itself sounds intimidating, like a battle you must wage in the depths of your own soul. A descent into a place you've spent your whole life trying to avoid. But this is the most common misunderstanding, and it is the one that keeps so many people trapped. The goal isn't to defeat the shadow. You cannot win a war against yourself. The goal is to integrate it, to reclaim the parts of you that you have exiled, to turn toward them not with a sword, but with compassion. And this great turning does not begin with a roar. It begins with a whisper. It begins with the quiet act of acknowledgement. Lying in bed at night when the house is still and the day's performance is over, instead of scrolling on your phone to numb the familiar ache of resentment, you simply allow the feeling to be there. You give it a name. You whisper just to yourself in the privacy of your own mind, I feel angry right now. I felt it when my boss took credit for my idea. I felt resentful when I had to cancel my plans again. I am exhausted from holding everything together. And you add 3 revolutionary words. And that is okay. This is the start of true inner work. Not fighting the feeling, not judging it, not trying to fix it. Simply allowing it to exist, to be seen by you. You begin to learn the language of your own inner world. You start to realize that anger is not a moral failing.
It is a messenger. It is a boundary-setting energy that rises up to say, "Stop, this is not okay with me." You start to understand that the selfishness you so feared is, in healthy doses, actually self-preservation. It is the sacred recognition that you cannot pour from an empty cup. It is the wisdom that your own oxygen mask must be put on first. The path forward, then, is not through a grand, dramatic confrontation. It is through small, consistent, courageous acts of self-honoring. It's saying, "I need to think about that, I'll get back to you," instead of an automatic yes. It's closing your laptop at 6 p.m. even if the work isn't finished. It's taking a 10-minute walk by yourself in the middle of the day without justifying it to anyone. It's allowing yourself to rest when you are tired without the nagging voice of guilt telling you that you should be productive. These acts seem insignificant to the outside world. No one will give you an award for them. In fact, you may even encounter resistance. But for your inner world, these small acts are seismic. Each one is a message you send to the deepest parts of yourself. A message that says, "I see you. Your needs are valid. You matter." Think of Chloe again. The next week, her sister calls, in crisis once more. Chloe feels the familiar pull, the automatic impulse to drop everything and become the savior. But this time, something is different. She has been practicing acknowledgement. She takes a breath. She feels the exhaustion in her own body. And she says something new, something terrifying and liberating. "I am so sorry you're going through this, and I want to be there for you. I am in the middle of a major deadline right now and can't give you the attention you deserve. Can I call you back at 7 p.m. when I can fully listen?" This is not a rejection. This is a negotiation. It is the dance of holding space for another person's needs without abandoning your own. This is what it means to integrate the shadow. You are not becoming a different person. You are becoming a more complete person. A person where the persona and the shadow are no longer at war. They are in conversation. A person who can be both kind and clear, both compassionate and boundaried, both generous and self-respecting. Pause here and ask yourself this gentle question. What is one very small, forgotten need that you can gently and quietly honor for yourself today? This is the beginning of a profound transformation. It is the journey home to the person you were always meant to be before the world told you who you should be. It is the quiet, steady work of reclaiming your own soul. We began this journey in the quiet exhaustion of the good girl, in that space where you give everything to everyone and are left with only a hollow echo for yourself. We walked through the gilded prison of the persona, the mask of niceness that earns applause but costs you your soul. We stood in the aftermath of the shadow's rebellion, realizing that your sudden rage was never about the spilled milk, but about a lifetime of swallowed words. And finally, we learned that healing isn't a battle against this darkness. It is an act of homecoming, an integration, a quiet, courageous listening. The most profound and perhaps most difficult truth in all of this work is this: your liberation does not depend on anyone else changing. It does not require your partner to become more thoughtful, your boss to become more appreciative, or your family to suddenly understand your needs. They may or they may not. But your wholeness is not contingent upon them. It begins and ends inside you. It is a shift in your own internal posture.
It is the choice to stop participating in your own disappearing act, to stop being the first one to volunteer your own needs for sacrifice. The world has only taught you that your needs are secondary because you were the first one to agree that they were. You do not need permission from anyone else to begin this. You only need permission from yourself, the permission to be imperfect, the permission to disappoint someone, the permission to be, for a moment, unavailable, the permission to be human. This is not a journey to become selfish. It is the journey to become self-full, to be so rooted in your own worth and your own truth that your yes becomes a genuine, joyful offering, not a resentful obligation, and your no becomes a clean, clear act of self-respect, not a declaration of war. This is the balance that Carl Jung spoke of, the union of opposites, the point where kindness and truth can coexist within the same heart. So where do you begin? You begin with the next small choice, the next opportunity to pause before you answer, the next moment you feel that familiar tug of resentment, and instead of ignoring it, you acknowledge its presence. You begin by choosing yourself in one small, almost unnoticeable way. This is the journey to become self-full, to be so rooted in your own worth and your own truth that your yes becomes a genuine, joyful offering, not a resentful obligation, and your no becomes a clean, clear act of self-respect, not a declaration of war. But as you take these first steps, you might feel a deep, unsettling fear. The fear that if you are not the nice one, the good one, you will lose your identity. You will no longer know who you are. This fear has a name. It is the power of a role you have played for so long, you've mistaken it for your true self. It is a powerful psychological pattern that Jungian psychology calls an archetype, specifically the good girl archetype. Understanding this archetype and the hidden shadow it creates is the key to breaking free without feeling like you are betraying your very essence. And that is exactly where our journey will take us next.